Hey guys, welcome back to the Calling the Forgotten Files. I am one of your hosts, Shannon Rogers, and we have Jennifer Lee. How are you, Jennifer?
I'm good. I almost said good morning. So that shows you the headspace that I'm in.
I am drinking coffee. They played a cruel joke on me. On Friday they were like, "Hey, can you work 12 hours shifts all next week?" And I'm like, "Okay." So I'm drinking coffee right now.
Well, whatever it takes sometimes, right? It
Oh, yeah, we'll get there. But how was your week?
was good. Um, I don't know. It was a good week. It was a strange week, but it was a good week. Wasn't feeling so great yesterday, but I feel better today. So there's that, right? There's always another day. So
Positive and every negative,
that's right.
right?
Forging forward.
Yes,
I
yes, yes.
woke up. I woke up every day this week, so it's a good week, right?
There you go.
Sweet.
So we had Stephanie on last week. I just love her. Her energy is so just calming and good. And you guys did really great. And I enjoyed that show very, very much. But this week we have a very special guest on, Robbie Thomas. And his credentials are like through the roof, to be honest with you. I'm Let me just pull my paper up. Shoot, I got so much written down everywhere.
Hi, Leanne.
Okay, he's the film Sally House. He's wrote over 10 books, like he was the author of. He is law enforcement endorsed. He has been seen on NBC, ABC, CBS, GAIA, and Discovery. And his name is Robbie Thomas, and we are very happy to have him on today. Let's bring him on.
Let's bring him up. Let's do it.
Hello.
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 How are you?
Great. How are you guys?
Good. First of all, thank you so much for coming on. It's very much appreciated. I've been really excited and looking forward to chatting with you because anything to do with any psychic detective or psychic profiler things, I'm really intrigued. So again, thank you for being on. And
No, pleasure's mine. Thank you for having me, first of all.
yeah,
Good to be here. And it's been a long time since I've done a show. Um, so whatever comes out of this guy's mouth is going to be whatever you see or hear from a death scene. It's going to be actual and factual.
factual is good. And we're laid back. We're just going to chit chat and talk about you and kind of just go from there.
Okay. Sounds good.
For people that don't know who you are, Robbie, tell us a little bit about you.
Absolutely. I'm Métis, Algonquin. I am the great-grandson descendant of Chief Roque Manitobewich. When the first white European came to Turtle Island, his name was Champlain back in 1590. So we're going that far back. And when he came up to St. Lawrence Seaway, he met my great-grandfather, ancestor, became friends with him, and that's where your fur trade first started that long ago. Now, his daughter was my great grandmother ancestor, and she became the very first indigenous lady to marry a white European that was documented by the government and the church. And so that's where you get the Métis Nation that was born and started. There's three indigenous groups in Turtle Island. There's the Inuit, First Nations, and Métis. And of course, I'm Métis.
Wow.
That's nice. So you are a psychic profiler, correct? Can you kind of dive into and explain a little bit of what that entails?
Sure. That term, in every show I've ever done, from Howard Stern to Keeler in New York to wherever, I always say the same thing. I don't like that term. That term is so, in our world today, people look upon psychics as, a coffee shop in every corner store, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In every
That's
corner,
so
right?
true. Yeah.
Right. And I've said this from the beginning, from my very first television show. I had a 1 hour, it was 2003, was my very first television appearance and 1 hour special. I like to look it upon as, in my indigenous roots, as a seer, a spirit walker. We walk with spirits. Spirits here, spirits are everywhere. And we're part of that. We're part of Creator. We're part of everything that's bigger than us. So I term it that way. I'm an author. I have written 10 books, a body of work. I've co-authored 4 other books. I've written and wrote different plays for television, movies. Currently, I can take you back to 2006, where I began and started Psychic Profiler, the TV series, where it was actually put into the American Guild, Writers Guild. So we are that far along till now, where we are. I've been with, oh my goodness, America's Most Wanted, filmed with them. Heck, Oprah wanted it at one point. A&E. I sat in the offices in New York. I've been down through this tunnel many times, and we're currently with one of the producers who shot and filmed with Dog the Bounty Hunter. Um, Funny story for you girls. Before COVID hit, just before COVID hit, I had the producers of Dog and Beth and producers of Dog. Two different shows, two different elements of production companies. Did not know they were both talking to me at the same time. I signed with Citizens Pictures, which had Guy Fieri, the cooking show, Dines, Diners, and Dives. So
Nice.
I signed with them. Everything was a go. Ready. My law enforcement cast are all through America. High-ranking police officers, chief of police, great cases to help individuals, families, and COVID hit 1 week before or just after signing that contract. So we all sat on our couch. We all gave names to our furniture and different names to our children.
Jehovah's Witnesses come over to talk.
Right. So the show got shelved. So then we had to start all over again. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to retire again for the second or third time, right? And no, one of the producers got a hold of me, and we are right now talking to two major networks, which are vying for the show, and I'm happy. We're going to get out there. One day we will get out there and do what I intended to do many moons ago. At present, I'm in an award-winning television series with Michael Gross from Family Ties, Tremors, LA Law. He did all those shows. Dee Wallace did Cujo, E.T., Critters. She's involved in this series. It's an award-winning director, Linda Palmer from LA. I got invited onto the show. Thank God for way things move in life, and I'm just so honored to be able to even be mentioned in it. But I'm a producer in that genre of paranormal, and I also have a couple episodes that are in post-production right now. It's won 7 awards so far, and on 2 episodes that are out. You can catch it on Prime, Amazon Prime, and Tubi TV. So that part of me has been that busy through COVID and to now. Still working murder cases. Just recently, just before Christmas here, missing girl who's missing in my hometown. And then right into Kentucky, where prior to COVID, I was working with law enforcement and different individuals on agencies during a case of 3 males who went missing. One of the family members contacted me saying, "You said to dig up the pond, that they would find the shepherd boy in his truck under the pond." And she says, "You were right." And they dug it up and they found his truck and him in the truck under the pond. So that's part of that case done. And as you know now, we're able to travel back and forth. So there's a lot of, I say technical things being done so that we can go and finish this and find those people responsible. And
timing is everything. Like everything is supposed to happen when it's supposed to. So
yeah. So I was reading in your book. I was reading the story about how you got started in this, and I found it absolutely fascinating. So can you just kind of give us your version of it? Can you tell us, like that first chapter when you were talking about that just captured me, and I think that's just amazing how you came into this, because it wasn't your first passion, right? You had another passion.
Yeah. I was going through to be a police officer. I went through twice. My first time I went through to be a police officer, I was hired on, did all the physical testing, all the psychological, all the interviews. I think it was like 3, 4 days of doing all this.
Mhm.
And they took 3 auxiliaries out of many candidates. I was one of the 3. And I remember being brought to the chief of police office, sitting down in the chair, and the 2 other auxiliaries were to my left. And we're all, peachy and happy because, and I'm telling you, I was a proud peacock. I was, you know, I was thinking nothing but, hey, I'm a cop. I'm going home to tell my mom I'm a cop. You know,
It is.
yeah, this is, hear my head, my thinking, right? So I hear this big burly man laughing, and he's coming up the hallway, comes into his office. He congratulates the 2 to the left of me, shaking their hands, and then he sits down. And I thought that's quite odd because he didn't shake my hand, and what's wrong here? And he picks up a piece of paper and he goes, "Son, how old are you?" And I said, and at this point, again, I didn't care. I'm going to be a cop no matter what, right? Chief, I'm 17 years old, right? And you have to be 20 to be an auxiliary. And he wanted to know how I made it that far beyond everybody at age 17 to be sitting in his office. And he laughed and he said, and he didn't burst my bubble. He actually guided me and said, don't give up and continue on your trek, and you will finally make a great police officer one day. So, yeah, lo and behold, there goes my peacock tail, just folded right up, and, so I continued on. And I went through age 2021, and I got home from a little town outside of Toronto, Canada, and I was hired on there. Sitting in the house, having coffee, knowing that I have to move. And I'm sitting with my father at the table from this place in my city to another city, and everything going through my mind and everything. And then I hear accident, accident. So I jump up the table, run out my screen door of my home, and I hop the fence. I looked over, and there's a lady running around in the parking lot of a row of townhomes in her house coat, and she's screaming frantically. So I jump over the fence. I do what a first responder does. Where's the accident? She points down the laneway. I run. I'm running down this way. I'm thinking I'm going to get to the scene of this accident. People are hurt. I got to help, whatever. I round the corner. I look at the street. It's a normal day. Traffic's going. There's nothing. And all of a sudden I look to my left, and there's a guy in the screen door of the one townhome, and he says, "Over here." So I run towards him, and I take one step into the through the threshold into the kitchen, and I see a lady running around a table screaming, right around the table. And I look to my right, and there's a guy holding a doorknob to a door, and he says, "Come here." So I go over to him, and I'm on frame of mind is accident. Somebody's hurt. Somebody's in that door, because he said, "Come here." He opened the door, grabs my shoulder, shoves me in, and shuts the door. My eyes are on the floor looking for blood. As I look down and I look up, then I finally see the gentleman in the bathroom, and his eyes are open. His lips are kind of purple blue. He's gaunt, really gaunt looking. And I thought, oh my gosh, what did I come upon? So, first responder, right away, check vitals. I'm checking for vitals. I go to do CPR, and I hear, "Let me go." And then I stop for a moment, and I didn't clue in that I can always hear and I can always see. And that went out the window. But I'm looking at a gentleman here, and I'm doing first responder reality work here. So I go again to do vitals and then CPR, and then really loud to hear, "Let me go." And I thought, oh, okay, now I know. So I'm backing up in this the bathroom was like a 2-piece bathroom, very small. And I'm backing up to the door. I grab the door behind me. I open it up. And as soon as I walk out that door, remember, there was only 2 people in that kitchen. I come out of there. It was like the whole neighborhood was there. There was like 50,000 people staring right at me, and quiet. You could hear a pin drop. And then my father finally comes in the side door, and all he had to say, and he did, he goes, "Well, is everything okay in here?" And I just looked at him. I shook my head, and that did it. Everybody screaming and crying. Then I got called to the coroner, because you can't pronounce anybody dead, or you have to be in the visual with the coroner or filling out reports on why you say anything. But I didn't say he was dead. It shook my head, so I got off of that. Turned out that it was my sister's best friend's father that I was trying to save. The coroner died, and he said there was no way you could have possibly have saved his life, Rob, because he had a massive coronary. He had a tear in the wall of his heart, and there was no way of saving him. Well, that kind of touched me. And I thought God's got a different premise, a different venue for me to do what I have to do. And I truly, truly feel this. So this is 1990 now, okay, roughly about 1989, 1990, right? I get on the phone to staff sergeant where I'm supposed to be hired on, and I say, I quit. And they don't like that. You just can't quit being hired on after they spent so much money on you and time and effort to narrow down the perfect candidate. So the trade-off was this. I'm going to be in a movie for them, and they're going to let me go. And the movie's going to be a working tool for EMTs, firefighters, and police officers who quit under duress. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I wasn't stressed, and I don't know how much duress you want me to give you, but okay, fine. He goes, right? We're sending down a film crew. Okay, they show up. It's a captain, another sergeant, and a film crew, and they're setting up in my house. And they got the film camera going. They're going through peppering me with questions, right? Because they want to get something on film. They come to the question, why I quit. And I said, he talked to me. And you should have seen their faces. They're looking at me like, this guy is insane. And all I remember them saying is, okay, pack it up, we're out of here. Right? So they packed up everything and was gone. And of course, I didn't go through to be a cop. But shortly after that, I've sat with many police testings. And I remember the chiefs all telling me, you're going to make a great cop one day and all this. But fast forward to my first case now, my hometown. And a little young boy, 14 years of age, moved from, and this is going to really surprise people too, because it turned out to be my cousin's best friend, which I did not know until about a month ago when we went out to have dinner. And I started talking about Mark Campbell. And I said, Greg was in a parking lot and he was the manager of the building. And I was talking to Greg, looking at him straight on. And this guy was about 50 yards behind him, walking to the entrance to go upstairs or into the building, wherever. And I seen a black shroud around him. And whenever I see black around somebody, I know they're bad. There's something bad about that person. And it intrigued me. So I kept watching him, taking my eyes off Greg. And Greg looked over his shoulder. He said, oh, that's Jesse, a.k.a. Jesse. Do you want to go meet him? And I said, yeah. I just felt compelled to, go and meet him. So by the time now Jesse's up into his apartment, Greg brings me up in there and knocks on his door, and he introduces me to Jesse. And Greg sits adjacent from me and Jesse, who are sitting on a sofa. Greg's on a love seat, about maybe 15 feet away from us or 10 feet away from us in this living room. And we're going through talking, normal talk. And then, lo and behold, there's Rob, Peacock Rob, with all the questioning of of cop mode. And I'm asking what he does for work. There's something, would you do this week, blah, blah, blah. And then he just blurted out right away. He goes, stand the F up. So I did. I stood up. And then he lifted my shirt and he goes, are you effing hot? And I'm not cluing in. And he's feeling around my waist. Then it hit me. He's looking for a wire. And he pushed me down. And now you got to picture this guy. He's 5 foot nothing. Looks like Eddie Van Halen.
There's a visual.
I'm thinking, is he going to break out melody here? What's going on? Right? So he pushes me down and he goes, I'll tell you how the F had happened. And I don't know how he got to that point. But he says, we were ripping off a car stereo across the way. And Thomas Cook, who murdered again, is in jail. I'll get to that case in a moment, right between this one. They were accomplices in this crime over here. then decided to go rob the gas station. So as they walked over to the gas station, they pulled out a gun. And he says, you should have seen him hopping. He was hopping like a rabbit, and we were shooting him like this. But as he described it to me, he had a big grin on his face. He was very pleasant, like he was enjoying this, right? And so then he told me, stand up again. And then by then now, Greg is by the door, and he's leaving. And he tells me if I tell anybody, he's going to kill me. And he shoves me out the door. Well, we go down to Greg's apartment, and his wife's there. And she's like, very livid. Why in the hell did you go there? Why in the hell did you guys do that? Why did you say what you did? Right? And all this trouble. So I went and seen the detectives, and they say to me, Rob, and I did not know this, that they were in court that coming week. And I said, and this whole case I was very aloof to. And he says, you got to go back and wear a wire and get him to say the same thing he said to you while you're in. I said, I looked at these guys and I go, are you kidding me? He already told me he's going to kill me. And,
he already looked for a wire.
Me and Coach.
Right? No, right? No, it ain't happening. So, yeah, that's my first case. On a serious note now, to everybody who's tuning in who think you are, and we'll use that term, psychic, and you're going to go on and put yourself in harm's way like I did, and how stupid I was when I did that. I learned quick, and I became very professional. I work with law enforcement. I don't work ahead of law enforcement or do stupid things like that. So don't put yourself in that kind of position, because you're going to end up being what almost I was, dead or missing or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So then now go back to the Thomas Cook. He decided his girlfriend was not for him. So he saran wrapped her, and he held her arms, and she took her last breath and died in his arms. And then he gave himself up, and he's in jail. But the other case, they said they would get off on a technicality, and they did. They got off on an alibi and a technicality that everybody backed them from their family, saying they weren't there. There's no way they could have killed Mark Campbell. But they told me the way they ran, what gun they used, everything, right? So poor Mark Campbell and his family, and these guys here are still out in the loose here. And yeah, that's my first case. So please, again, take the advice I tell everybody. Don't pretend you're psychic, and don't pretend you're the cop and do what I did, because no, it's a no.
There's so much psychology in what he did with the saran wrap and everything there. That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah,
It's crazy.
I've been down this road with many crazy murderers. Oh my gosh, I know you've read my book. I mean, you've read some of
that. Yeah, you were talking in there about being threatened, like yourself and your family, and and all of that. So yeah, not for the faint of heart, for sure.
No. I'm no little guy. I've always worked out. I'm a pretty big guy. I took the stance of wanting to be a police officer, so I follow that line, and I got a lot of good friends in law enforcement, and I they consider me part of the blue line. They call me brother. I mean, there's a lot of cases that aren't in the book. I'm sure we're going to go over tonight. That'll just blow your mind. But they're just crazy. I mean, no one crime is the same.
So what is your most memorable case?
Oh my gosh, all of them, because every case I do, if it's a child, I always wake up through the night, and I always, feel every anniversary, I remember them. I remember their families, being with their families, being adopted by their families. I stay in touch with all their families. It's just amazing. I mean, a lot of them follow me on you guys follow me on my social media. They're there too. So it's like a big family, my most memorable case would be Victoria Stafford. That one's in the book. You read that one. Little girl goes missing. 9-year-old little blonde hair girl Beautiful. April. Well, here we go. Right, we're going in April. um, touched my heart big time. An hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at the most away from my hometown, and the family get in touch. We talk. I go down and see them. Before I do, like any case I do, I fax off all information pertinent to the case, diagrams, drawings, everything. Then they hand it to the detective, and of course I go and meet the detective, Detective Brown, and we're in office, and they have all my notes, and they're looking for on grainy video of a woman leading Victoria away from the school, right? And they said, we're looking for a woman, and I said, no, you're not. You're looking for an older man and a woman. And she got Victoria to prove, and it's really weird, people are sick, to prove her love that she could get him a child for him. And that's exactly what it was about. So as being in office and going through all the motions and the detail and telling the police, everything I had, um, they were out looking for her and going into people's homes. And when I wrote down things like the Mennonites, the wagon wheels, the horse and buggy, they found her body in Guelph, and I made a typo, but it was like a mental typo where I put Gulch instead of Guelph, but it happens. And the other pertinent information that was all on paper and what have you. Sure enough, I said a tree line. She goes into a tree line because she's showing me 2 days before she went missing. Spirit showed me where this little girl was going to go, and I told my wife, and I started doing my notes. And if you went on my website and you listened to 99.9, the Fox FM, out of my hometown, the radio station, the program director pulls me on the show afterwards, and he goes, you showed me all this evidence prior to them doing the case. And he goes, I was skeptic, but I'm a believer now because it all came true. And she showed me all the area in which she was. So the big pile of rubble, rocks, wood, the tree line, the Mennonite people dressed in horse and buggy. And sure enough, her body was found right adjacent from that big pile of rocks and rubble, right in the tree line, 20 feet, like right in there. Yeah, and so they finally arrested McClintock and McCafferty for the homicide. They said to me, Robbie, if she's around us, can you ask her when you go home? I was traveling back and forth. Can you ask her, if she's around us to prove it? And I said, yeah, okay. So I'm at home. I think this must have been the third trip. My wife's getting into bed, and I said, okay. And I'm fed up, and I'm fed up about poor her, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I said, Victoria, show me a sign, do something, so I know that you're here. And all of a sudden, you hear 5 little knocks on the wall, and my wife pulled the covers over her head, and she goes, "What's that?" And I said, "That's Victoria." And I said, "Victoria, now show me that you're around your family. They want one thing, just show me." So she showed me a baseball cap with a fox stuffed head on top. So I'm drawing all this down. And then there was nothing. And I thought, okay, that's what she wants me to say. I'll do it tomorrow. So I get on the phone with Rebecca, and I say, Rebecca, and she put me on speaker. I said, you guys asked me that question. Well, here's Victoria's response. And I told her about the knocking. And I said, she showed me a ball cap with the stuffed fox head on top. I don't know what that means. And everybody goes, oh, like they're gasping. And then Rebecca goes, she just bought him that hat yesterday.
No.
Fox Racing with the Fox emblem on the hat.
Yeah.
And I said, that's her showing you she's around you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know she's there. And so it gives me chills and tears and whatever. So then we do the balloon release, and we're down there, and our favorite color is purple. And we got hundreds of balloons going in the sky. Because the arrest of those 2 people, those monsters. And then I get home, and then I'm on my couch. My wife's on hers, and the children are on the floor. And I brought them, they met the family, so we're all like really close. And I said, and out of nowhere comes Victoria. And she comes and she's hugging me. And I'm hugging her. And it was just a warm moment. And I see the butterflies. And she hands me a flower, a yellow flower. And so I said, oh, wow. And then she was gone. So then I call Rebecca, and she goes, the butterflies were her favorite, the purple butterflies and the yellow flower. I said, she was thanking me for finally we got them. And they're gone. Because my kids were looking at me, what's Dad doing? And, it was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing.
That's so beautiful. That's so amazing. And one thing when I was reading your book that really touched me, that struck me was how much, first of all, your faith in God and how much you actually care about the people that you're working for and with. I just thought that was so beautiful. And you touched on that all the way through your book, about it taking a community. And I much respect, because like I teared up in your book several times. Just talking about it makes me kind of want to tear up a little bit.
I know.
I mean, just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, people want the truth. They want to know what is out there. And I'm going to be honest, on your show, I've had people hound me. James Randi, we all know who he was. Everything you're doing is fake. Everything you're lying, blah, blah. So I sat down for years, and I had to accumulate all the documentation you see in the book, from text messages, photographs, law enforcement testimonials. They had to get permission, put it all in this book, right? And I put it out there, and all those people who were on my back disappeared.
Boom.
Isn't that funny? Because you bring the truth forward, and those cases were very high profile cases. So I had to do something, and I did it for the people. And every case you see there not only has family talking, it has law enforcement, it has, like I said, text messages, never before seen information that was privy to the public. I had to put in there to prove that, I went there, I got the guy's name, like Cesar Cano. I mentioned the murderer's name. The police, now he's in prison forever. And that's how they got him, right? Cecil Eugene New. You can't pull the name Cecil out of a hat.
Well,
go ahead. Like when they sent me the little photograph of him, it was Canada Day. And I had people in the backyard. And this is true. I said, no, not today. Not today. And I've never said that to nobody, ever. I've never said no to nobody. And so I hang up the phone and I turn around. And of course, my wife is right there. And she goes, you can't do that. You get back on the phone, you call them back up, and you tell them you're going to do the case. And I'll tell the people they can wait or go home, right? So I did. And they sent me a photo. I got all my information. I remember writing down stadium lights, the diagram, and off. And orange flags, men in orange vests. So if you stood on the murderer's front porch, they were doing construction right in front of his house on a sewer. And if you looked across the street in through the tree line, Papa John's Stadium was right there. And I put John in Stadium, and it was right there. So I led, Spirit did, right to the doorstep of the murderer. And then so as I'm channeling Spirit, it went blank. And then all of a sudden, I know he was being murdered. I just felt it, right? So then I'm livid, I'm screaming, I'm mad, and for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe. And then all of a sudden comes back in, but now it's not spirit guides or spirit, it's the little boy. And I know he's murdered. So I say to him, I just need his name. Give me his name. And he did. He gave his name Cecil. So I wrote Cecil down. I put it at the top of the head of the guy that I was seeing through him now, who looked like that. And I was drawing fast as I could on the diagram, right? And all this stuff's on my website, which people can't get to right now. I got to fix that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So anyways, the diagram's in the book as well. And if you look at his mugshot, and the picture from the eyes of a 4-year-old little boy, they're pretty darn similar. And I was doing this really quick. So then I had to get all the information back to Kentucky because I'm in Canada. So I faxed it to NBC, ABC, and Detective James Bland. Everything went, all those channels. So everybody had a copy. They were looking for the boy, yada, yada, yada. Then they go knock on his door, the murderer's door, and they said, "Did you see a little boy?" And he says, "No, of course." So then they leave. And of course, the boy's murdered. He moved him to the trash can. And then they went ahead back, and of course they found the cadaver dogs. I wrote down there, cadaver dogs or dogs downstairs in the closet. It's all on the diagram. And they just had to follow it like a T, like a puzzle, and put it together. And sure enough, they caught him December 7th, 2007. And he'll never see the light of day ever again.
That's great.
Man.
How do you choose the cases that you work on? Because there's so many. I mean, are you drawn to them? Do people come to you? Do they have to meet a certain criteria? I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, no, it's not criteria. It's like you say, there's just so many. And I tell every family, I say, like I say, I never say no, and I always say yes to everybody. So I say, it can't be right now though, because I have A, B, C, D, E, F, G all in front of you. And when I get to you, and they're so nice, and they understand. But if it's a precedence of somebody missing, like Andy DeLay, I've worked many cases with him, and he's in the book, from Florida, Detective DeLay. And he called, I was in the washroom. I come out of the washroom, and he goes, "Rob, it's 9:30 a.m. Missing endangered elderly lady. It's very serious." And I said, "Okay, send me the file, Andy." So he sends me the file, and I never look in the file because all that information to me is always either backwards or wrong, or I don't understand it. I look at the photograph. So I'm looking at Charlene, and I started telling him as he's on my text and calling him, and he's telling guys in the field where to go, like rabbits. They're really fast. And I'm saying, okay, I see the water, I see the rocks, and I see, it's not this town, a bus, and then the bridge, and then going through all this stuff, right? Well, she left the town of where she was and ended up in Tampa Bay. And they found her where the bridge was, in the rocks, with water in the rocks. And they found her there, and she took a bus to get there. So they followed the lead and got her all before noon that day. And this started at 9:30 in the morning. So then the sheriff did a press conference right away, and he goes, "Turn on this, turn it on." So I turned it on, and there he was. They were all saying, "Thanks to the lead, we found her. She's well." So something like that happens like that quick. Yeah.
So I'm curious, with the work that you do, how does that affect, if it does at all, your self-preservation and like your personal life?
When you go through to be a police officer, you have to learn to have those coping mechanisms and I've learned over 33 years now of doing what I do, right? Turn cold. I turn cold and oblivious to everything else. I result back to, like in my book, I pray a lot.
Right.
To Creator, to God, a lot, an awful lot. And I draw my strength from there. And so I just turn cold. You have to. I mean, you're either going to be realistic about it, or you can play phony psychic from the corner and say, I see a tree, I see a light, or whatever, right? You got to get the right information and do it right. And sometimes that puts you right on the spot where I'm on the death scene and they're calling my phone or dropping by. Like they dropped by the hotel one time with a shotgun. They wanted to shoot me and shoot my partner, Chief Kevin Smith. When we were shooting with America's Most Wanted. You have to be cold to this. You're in the line of work that people don't like. You know what I mean? They don't like it. So yeah, it's either you're going to do it or you don't. There's no glory in it. There's no major fallacy of awards behind me or whatever. You know what I mean? It's something out of love and doing what I do. My major pillar is my wife.
Right.
I take her every case I go.
I was enjoying reading that about your relationship in the book as well.
Mm.
Yeah, I just to have that support, I think is just huge, and I just love that. I love
Oh
that.
yeah,
that you
she's a
have.
dynamite. She's a firecracker. Um,
You have 3 daughters as well. I mean, wow.
I know. If you would have seen my birthday picture, that's like this every day. You know, I got to wear the pink stuff and all
I
that.
did see it.
Yeah.
The happy birthday staff,
Oh, thank you.
like the sack.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. So it's like that every day. I mean, I eat woman food, and they laugh at me. It's not woman food, Dad. Asparagus and all that stuff. Anyways, but yeah, you know, I'm a guy who rides a Harley. I work out daily. You know what I mean? I don't know what else to say. I got my black belt in jiu-jitsu, aikido, kempo, karate. You see, I make weapons. I mean,
Yes, tell us
yeah.
the story. I know you told me and Shannon that earlier, but I think that that's just amazing how you came into that. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just checking my head if you're still there. Okay. So I had before COVID hit, the gimmick of the show was I'm to ride in on a motorcycle, get off my motorcycle because I'm all tattooed everywhere, right? And go and join the guys and the girls who are blue line and solve the case. Well, I had my bike, I had it 5 days, and some guy didn't like it and hit me and sent me off into the air, and I put my head on the pavement many times. And all I remember too, I'll tell you, every rotation, and I seen the sky, I kept saying, "Thank you, God. Thank you, God." Right?
Oh, yeah, it slows down, doesn't it?
Oh,
Yeah, because I'm alive, right?
yeah.
Yeah. And so when I finally went out and I came to, it was a police officer and his wife off duty, and they were picking my bike off the road and all the parts this way, and my body was over here, and she was holding me. And she says, I remember her saying to me, "What do you want us to do?" And I said, "Pray to God I'm okay." Right? That's it. So I go to hospital. You're gonna get a kick out of this. I'm in hospital. I don't know how long, but the day of discharge, when I'm sitting up in the chair and I got all these bandages on me and I'm all drugged up, and the phone rings and it's on this tray. It's where I can't reach it though because my arms are all bandaged up. And I'm looking at all the nurses on the front desk because they had to keep an eye on me, and they're all looking at me. And my phone ring was, "It's the wife. It's the wife. Warning. It's the wife." Right? That's my ringtone for my wife. So I know to answer it or I'm in trouble. So I couldn't answer it, and they're all looking at me. And I said, "Oh, it's just the wife." And they all burst out laughing. So they called the wife back, and she's mad at me because I had the accent to begin with. My daughter comes and picks me up. I go home, and within days, maybe a week, I looked at my wife and I go, "You know what? I think I can carve. I really think I can carve, and I'm going to go and buy some stuff." And I went and bought all these machines. And I spent a lot of money, and I loaded up the garage, all these machines and all kinds of stuff, like thousands of dollars, right? All out there. And so she thinks I'm nuts, right? So I'm starting to carve and everything. And I'm, like I said, I'm making that's a red tail hawk. Like you can see the features on it and whatever. And I started forging, and I make, nice knives, right?
And they're beautiful.
Red on top, blue on bottom.
Yeah. Right. So, I'm sitting there, wow. And then I started carving walking staffs and everything. And then I get notified from the Olympic team that the women's Olympic swimming team are hunters, and they want to buy some knives from me because on social media. Fine. So I get on the phone, I'm talking to them, and I made some knives, send it to them. Then I get other, yeah, I'm thinking this is crazy. This is really crazy. So then I get a phone call. Guy goes, from the Upper Canada Native Art Museum in Niagara Falls, and we want to induct you into the museum, and we want to buy some of your pieces. And I go, and I'm laughing, right? And I hung up the phone, right? Well, then because I didn't, you got to know me. One minute I'm comical, and next minute I'm kind of, But anyways, he calls back and he goes, "Don't do that. This is real." And I said, "Okay." So I listened to his story, and then he goes, "Name your price." So I did, and without a blink in his eye, he asked for the e-transfer here, and he e-transferred the money to the bank account. I'm going, "Holy crap!" And he goes, "We'll have a courier there tomorrow," and they were, and they come picked up all my art pieces and put it in the museum. So I'm
Nice.
thinking, okay, well, this is crazy. This is just nuts, right?
Up in your head.
Yeah, I mean, like whatever, So then I get a call from a lady. She says, "My cousin was one of the SEALs who took out bin Laden when they raided bin Laden." And I said, "Oh, okay." And she told me his name and everything, and I'm searching, right? Yeah. So I'm, wow. So I'll make this beautiful knife for him, and it's a nice blade. It's got the Punisher. If you ever played Call of Duty, it has the Punisher on it. I 2 pins with the Punisher. They're in there. I stabilized the wood twice. I carved the wood all out really, really nice out of maple burl. It's got a big chunk of 5,000-year-old black bog oak in it, and all kinds of. And I put it all together and assembled it, and it's just what I see. I do. She fell in love with it, so then I started carving his sheath, right? I never thought. I told you before I couldn't draw a stick man, right? So I did a freaking phoenix coming out of the fire and everything. It looks gorgeous and it's beautiful. And yeah, so I put it on a few pages that I belong with Harley guys, and they're all going, "Oh my gosh, I want one." And so that's made for him and for his duty of doing what he did. She loves him so much that she got that for him. Dignitaries. Oh my gosh. Boy, oh boy, you name it. This sweet old lady. I hate to say old. She watched the show.
Lady.
She's gonna call me and hate me. Yeah, we become like family too. She's in Montana. She's 80. Her husband's 85, and so she decided to buy one of my knives. And she told me the story and of him and his background. So I made the knife, and she loves it. I put my name on it, got it all etched in there, and sent it off to her. And so she shows me her prayer board, and she put my name on her prayer board. And I just like, I'm butter, right?
Aww.
I'm just butter, right? So she goes, "You're family now, and you bring your wife and your kids. You come visit me." And I'm going, "Oh my gosh, it's like this is really crazy." But yeah, because I think they researched me more than I researched them, right? So yeah.
Opened up a different avenue and line of who you are to affect and connect with people in a different way in different walks of life that you were meant to do.
Yeah. It's a humanistic thing.
Mhm.
Being genuine and being, that open with people. In life, you're not going to escape 6 feet under, and you're not going to escape all the harshness that comes with it. So why not live it the best you can while you have it? So that's my philosophy in doing what I do. Yeah. So, the murder cases and missing people, the filming, I've been, like I said, I've been in the paranormal for I don't know how long. 1978 was my first case. I show people the photo of the full apparition. The photograph's actually in the museum here in my hometown.
Really?
I've shown it to many people before. I used to put on conventions. Oh my gosh, you're really breaking the vault open here. It's working. Yeah, so in 2009, I put a convention on. I call it the Canadian American Paranormal Convention. And I brought everybody from Ghost Hunters International, Keith Age, all of them, all down to my hometown. And I treated them to my hometown to all these people, right, that are on TV, that I was on TV way before them. And, I'm bragging right now. But, but, becoming friends with them and putting this all on. And I brought them to my very first hunt, which was 1978, recorded. So when they went in there, they're like, "Oh my gosh." I remember Patrick Burns having his EVP recorder out, and he asked me the name of the girl. And what made this very, very viable and evidential was when I gave the name, she repeated the name. Certain people heard it, like actual heard, but they recorded it on 2 different recorders and film, her saying that, which was phenomenal. And yeah, it's, it's just something I shared with them. And yeah, big time in the paranormal for a long time.
So what do you project? Like, what do you want to do next? What do you see in the next 5, 10 years, plan? What's your next angle or direction you want to go to? Not angle, that's a horrible thing to say. What are you kind of being pulled to do next?
There's a couple things. Number one is to get this show going. I have a great cast of law enforcement waiting for me. My one partner was actually international police chief Kevin Smith, highest ranking police officer in the world, and he passed away. But now I have Martha Decker, who is chief of police out of Texas.
I know Martha. I'm in Texas.
There you go. She's tough as nails, won't put up with anything, and she puts me in my place, which is great. I love Martha. So she's on it. We have a detective from Florida, one from Colorado, and then we go up into Alabama, a lieutenant who's in the prison system who interrogates people. I got professional people, even right down to hypnosis people that I've got on a cast. And so I'm hoping that somebody will pick this up. The reason it hasn't been picked up, and I'll let everybody know too, it's been through a lot of different people on the desk saying, we love the show. He won't follow script. I don't do fake. Right? I don't do fake. Right? I won't go and go, oh, right? No, I don't do that stuff. You go in there and they go, you can't name names. I said, well, how are we going to arrest the guy if I don't name names?
Bleep it out. I mean, come on.
Right? I'm sure the people on the other end of the TV are going to want to know what's going on, right? You can't do that. I said, okay, we'll do this then. We even come down to saying, well, blur out what I'm saying, blur out the picture of them and the name. And they said, no, legality. It's all about legality, right? I said, okay, fine. Here we are, right? Still trying to find that trend. Somebody who'll take the chance and do it. I mean,
and do it authentically is what you're looking for.
Right. Right. I'm sorry. I'm not one to go there and for family, and just give them all the hope that they're going to need and love I'm going to give them, and then walk away and say, oh, well, next one. I can't do that.
Right.
Can't do that. So,
you really have to, and this, but you have to stick to your guns on that because on Shannon's one of them. I know several people that have, they've gone on to these shows, and one is a medium friend of mine, and he was edited horribly, and it just, it literally almost killed his career. And I felt so bad for him because he's an amazing medium. And the way that they made him look was just terrible.
Yeah.
The way that they edited things, for show instead of being authentic. So good for you for just waiting for the right opportunity because it will come. But you want it to be authentic.
It's already come. It just has to be, it's already come. It just has to wait for the timing. It's already there.
That's it. When we were in Kentucky, Butcher's Holler, and Loretta Lynn called me up, and I love her. I love Loretta. She sat on the phone for an hour and a half with me and Leisha, my wife. I'm in Canada, and Patsy Lynn called first and said, Mom wants to talk to you. And we talked, and I had the phone. Here's my phone. I had the phone like this, so Leisha could hear, and I could hear, and Loretta's talking everything and anything, right? Jack Benny, her son, Johnny Cash, everything. She wanted me to go remake the movie at Hurricane Mills, and this was in 2007. She said, your family will stay with me and you stay in the Brown house. And I said, why am I in the Brown house, Loretta? And she goes, because that's where they are and your wife and kids can stay with me. Right? You like bourbon? Alan Jackson likes bourbon. You'll do horseback riding with Alan. And I thought, oh, great, But I actually, at that time, was in New Orleans, and I did a special down there with one of the guys from the Google Dolls and a couple of actors from my hometown, and we raised a bunch of money for the victims of Katrina. So James Van Prague actually went to do Loretta's place. And she called me. She goes, he didn't do it right. He didn't go in the house. He sat outside. She goes, I wanted you there. And then all of a sudden, we got this homicide. Would you go up to Butcher? I said, yes, I will. So we went up to Butcher's Holler. The Webb family, that's their name, Webb. And I met the Webb family. Her brother Herman is the overseer of the coal miner daughter home, right? Gotcha. And so I got a private tour. So it's just Herman, me, and one of the relatives. And we're in there sitting down the front deck. He's talking to his wife about his wife who died, cancer. And we're both crying. It was like hours with Herman. And then so we get up and go into Loretta's bedroom. And in the house, on the walls, everywhere, every inch has signatures of movie stars and recording artists and people like that. And the phone rings and it's Loretta. She goes, Robbie, I want you to play her accent, right? Oh, don't get mad, Loretta. And she goes, don't call me Loretta. My name's Retta. She wanted to be called Retta. And so she says, put your name on the wall. And I said, I'm not putting my name on the wall. I'm only Rob from Sarnia, a town in Canada. And she goes, Rob, I want your name on the wall. And she goes, Herman, give him the pen. So Herman hands me the pen. And if you go into her bedroom above her dresser, my name is written right there beside all those. Yeah.
That's amazing.
You know, people are going to go and go, oh, look, Dolly Parton, Glenn Campbell, Robbie Thomas. Who the hell is that?
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
I just see a straight linear path when I think about your energy. It just is the forward motion, this line that just keeps evolving and moving. Like it just the energy you give off. I like that.
Yeah, you know, you just got to do good in life. And thank you for saying that. No looking back for sure. Mm-hmm. But when we went and did that case, and I remember being up there with America's Most Wanted and filming the double homicide, we were at breakfast and Jim, the lead cameraman, was on my left, and my head got like big, like 10 footballs, because he said, John Walsh knows all your work and he's very proud of you, and that's why we're here filming. I was going, holy crap, I couldn't eat my breakfast. I mean, my head was like this freaking big, right?
Girl, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm just telling you the truth. I mean, like my head, I had an ego that day bigger than you wouldn't believe. Oh my God.
I'm that guy. That's awesome. Yeah. I like it. You're not egotistical, so that's awesome to hear, though. You're very humble about when you speak about these experiences, and I'm like, yeah, no big deal. So and so called me, or I did this. I'm like, yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh. You know, here's a funny story for you. I was putting a treadmill together one Christmas for my wife, right? And the phone rings, and it was Lorenzo Lamas. And he wanted me, and we had a long discussion. It was Christmas Eve of all time. And then he says, I'm going to send your wife a whole bunch of makeup and all this stuff lined over there. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's funny how I look to those people as like being like stature in society. And I look to myself as just, I'm just a Mickey Joe. Right. And that's it. I mean, we can hang out and have beers and fix my Harley if you want or whatever. Right. Yeah. I mean, seriously, yeah, it's amazing. I've had a good life. I'll tell you that much. I've seen a lot of people, sat with a lot of people. Yeah, I have no regrets. No regrets. You asked me what I want to do in the next little while, other than plant a garden that my wife says she won't pick the weeds in. Yeah, so I guess that's the question. But I want to get that show going. I want to put together a true documentary movie series, like a mini series of crimes, of what you don't see, because everybody portrays the murderer. We don't see what happens for the families.
No, and there are real people behind those stories. You know, they're real people that are hurting. Yeah. And from the work I do as a medium, I catch that other end of it.
Yep.
You know, I see that other end, and yeah, that would be great. I'm just going to leave it there because I'm kind of emotional today for some reason. I don't want to start the whole water
Stop it.
but I
Get
do.
going.
I see the other, I see the other end of that.
Yeah.
And I get to speak to not only the victims, but I get to speak with their families. And that's, I mean, it's powerful. It's powerful stuff. There's real emotions. There's real stuff there.
Yeah, there is.
And so I think that would be absolutely amazing because, yeah, how many shows are there on highlighting the murderers?
Yeah.
Right. And the families, they're almost secondary in those stories. And really, they shouldn't be. They're the forefront of those stories.
Yeah.
So that would be absolutely amazing.
Helping spirit of the ones that are deceased, as well as the family, bringing that full circle and giving comfort for both sides of the veil.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes, that would be amazing.
One case we did in Kentucky, it's in the book too, I'm trying to remember, where he called me Mr. FBI guy. He gave a deathbed confession and committed suicide because he knew we were on to him. He didn't even know I was coming to Kentucky. And we reopened this case and blew it wide open. Karma comes around, and I told the guy on the phone when he wanted me to come up his driveway to shoot me, I told him that those two souls are going to eat you alive, and they're going to at you until you're done. That's in the book. I know it's not the exact words, but in the book you read different. But sure enough, he committed suicide. Not only him, but another one of the three are dead now. So there's just Bobby left, who confessed. That kid, when detective took me into the boardroom and he said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Give me some Bristol board, and I'm going to portray him before, during, and after this murder and profile this one character." And so we did. We jumped in the SUV because he agreed to meet us at the driveway. So we drove up in the SUV. You only agreed to Andy and me. It's fine. So we pull up. Andy's being bad cop. I'm supposed to be good cop. I'm not even supposed to speak. Andy goes through all this big motion stuff, and he's got this kid riled up. And then Andy turns around and goes, "Okay, your turn. Ask him questions." And I thought, oh, if that ain't putting me on the spot, I don't know what is. So I've got the recorder in my hand like this under his chin. And I said, "Look it, I know you did it. You didn't do the deed, but you were there while they did it. Makes you part of this." And the kid's looking at me. And then Andy goes, "Just a minute." He goes, he opens the back of the SUV, takes the Bristol board, puts it on the back of the SUV. And he goes, "Read that. That's what he thinks of you." And the kid's reading it. And he's shaking his head like this. He's not verbalizing. So then I had the recorder, and I'm trying to chase his chin all over the place. And the kid finally goes, "Yes, I'll tell you everything. I just don't want to go to jail for life." We got him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, guys, everyone that's participated in the comments, thank you so much. There were some good comments in there. I put them up. I just didn't want to break conversation because it was really interesting, and I'm so glad you were here on with us. And again, thank you so much. We've gone a little over, which was great. I mean, we could keep going, but
that was fast. I thought that was 10 minits. So.
That slamming you keep hearing is my 5-year-old keep looking in like, "Where's dinner?"
Is that right?
Like, go away. I'll be there in a minute. No, thank you so much. And if you would come on down the road again, I would love that because, I mean, we could have just kept going. Your energy is amazing, and I just appreciate you taking the time out.
No, thank you for having me. It's been fabulous. And I can't see everybody in your chats, whatever. Thank you for even listening to me. God bless everybody and be safe.
Absolutely. And next week we have Animal Josh Delia. He was supposed to be on a few weeks ago, but I was on I got last minute, had to go on a corporate trip. So we're going to we rescheduled him. So he's going to come on. He's going to talk about his documentary Through Hell and Back. And yeah, again, thank you guys again for always coming on and joining in and sharing out. It's very much appreciated. And anything else, Jen?
No, I think that's it. Thank you again, Robbie.
Yeah,
thank you
so much. Thank you, guys.